You knew him as Detective Dan, maybe Earboy from all that. My 90s kids know who I'm talking about. Josh Server, from child star to obscurity. But why? We're going to answer that question right now on Pop Culture Paradise. Let's go.
In a world where the it thing is always changing, sometimes you need a tour guide or two to help you find your way to pop culture's paradise. If you find yourself reminiscing or in need of a good recommendation, these two have you covered. And now, here's your hosts, Joey and Jeff.
In the history of pop culture, you'll get a celebrity who goes from child stardom to ultra mega stardom, like your Britney Spears. But what happens when it's the opposite? Well, that's what happened to Josh Server.
Hey everyone, my name is Josh Server. Hey, I'm Josh Server.
Dude, they love him.
Nickelodeon's All That.
And that's why we're making today's episode. You see that kind of pop, and it's like, people clearly care about him.
No, I'm not.
Oh, definitely, dude. I mean, you look at those early clips of him right there in the intro of All That. You could tell he just had charisma. He had the cool bowl cut, skater cut, the big baggy clothes. It was so 90s.
And he was always committed to the character he was playing. So you look at him and you think, well, this guy had to make the transition to adult stardom. I mean, this kind of talent should be on SNL like his brother Keenan.
Right, and I think Keenan's about to celebrate 20 years on SNL or something like that.
So you wonder, why is Keenan celebrating 20 years on SNL, and Josh Server here is doing web series?
So weird, man. Dude, he very much has like a physical style of comedy.
I'm Josh Server. I'm Josh Server.
And when I watched him back in the day, I related to him. Like, he was my guy, because if I was on that show, he's who I would be. He had my style of comedy.
I'm one of the cast members of the show. Haven't you ever seen Earboy? Detective
He looks so
Dan,
much older in that last like little clip right there. You're going in the clink.
Well, what would happen is every year, you know, like your SNL, a cast member might age out, or they decide, well, we don't really need you anymore. And by the end of the run, Josh Server was the only person still from the original cast.
Really? He lasted that long?
6 years. So what I was finding is, you know, that takes us from like 1994 all the way to the millennium.
Wow.
So, you know, you can see him crossing over with celebrities at his time period. And then as he gets older, and as we explore today, there's that peak where it's like, wow, he's like the biggest thing. He's all over Nickelodeon. And then you see somebody like Britney Spears. Wow, she just had that hit. Wow, she is having a massive tour. Wow, she's like the biggest thing in the world. And they have this cross, which is what this clip is, where, well, here's Britney, and she's talking about, well, Josh Server?
I'm Britney Spears, and I just want to congratulate All That on their 100th
the busted
show.
knee.
I'm so sorry I couldn't be there.
Hey, as we found out, maybe it wasn't a knee accident.
But hey, you know what made me feel a lot better? Watching my favorite character, Detective Dan.
I'm
Detective Dan, he was the best. That was the voice, dude. It was so funny. And the fake mustache and the whole suit.
So all child stars have to come somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And I found out from Josh Server's interviews that him and Kel Mitchell actually started from the same place. They were both kid actors from Chicago.
Wow. What are the odds of that? That's kind of cool.
And then the other thing with him is that it's almost a feeder system at Nickelodeon, where if you're already on their radar, they want to find something that fits your talent. So he, before he was on All That, was already on a pilot that didn't get picked up called Scooter.
What?
Yeah, and I tried to find this thing because we do pilot episodes on this channel. And I guess he's like a boy from outer space who...
Of course he is, right?
It kind of sounded like Alan Strange or Alex Mack or any of those other sci-fi futuristic
Alex
comedies
Mack
they had.
was legit.
Did you know there's an Alex Mack board game?
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I'm not surprised by that, but...
Well, there's not like other Alex Mack merchandise other than maybe like one of those scholastic novelizations of an episode. And like, it would cost $80. And if it's not making me turn into a liquid form, I don't know if it's worth that price.
If it's not turning me into a Capri Sun, I'm gonna pass.
It's all just a part of growing up, Alex.
Hey, check out his shoes. Thanks, girls. I
just got them. They're the brand new Toon Lightning. They got pops, lights in the back, and a pull-out
That is a kid from Chicago that definitely had a Michael Jordan poster in his room.
Oh, dude, definitely. It was the poster with the globe behind him.
8. 1 year older than Wyatt.
That's so cool. So he was already
started.
like a child actor,
From there,
probably doing
kinda
commercials and different
working
things like that, and
professionally
then discovered
kinda took off
by
from there. Got the job when
Nickelodeon.
I was 13 with Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
They knew me because I had
Wow.
done a pilot for Nickelodeon, so that I think it made it a little
That's
easier
so
for me
crazy.
because they kind of knew who I was, but
What was that pilot?
it was a pilot called Scooter.
So the pilot, when he was
about a boy who was on a TV show
younger
who
than
was,
13, because
playing a
13 he
kid that
said he
was from
started
Africa.
with Nickelodeon.
And that was when I was like 12.
Well, with all
I've done
that,
some work for
Yeah.
Nickelodeon already.
Hello, I'm Josh. And a lot of you out there have been writing us letters here and all
Damn.
that, asking us how we became cast
Dude,
members.
see, this is
It
still
wasn't easy
a
to get on
dream
the
of
show,
mine to this
believe me.
day, to be a famous child actor.
a challenging process.
it's never too
Well, I was
late.
part of the
I
original
know.
cast of all that, and back then we had to go through like a series of auditions. I think I must have read for the producers 5 or
The
6
OG.
times, and then got the part.
And that's a flex right there, so flex it.
And garbage.
And we got a lot.
Yeah,
thanks
flex
to our
because you're better than
writers and our
trees and
producers, They
garbage.
gave us a lot of
Right.
leeway to do our own sketches and do our
It's
own
so
characters,
crazy
and
how young
that's
they
just not-
look.
That's pretty rare for kids on TV.
This is it.
And if you hear this,
Lights,
they were writing
cameras,
almost their
action.
own material.
We're talking millions.
Can you
Really?
imagine at 13 to have the responsibility
No.
to be in front of a big crowd
Well, if you wanted to,
and
Gummy,
make
we're
them
going to have
laugh
to
with
bring
like
some for the rest
an
of the
outline of a
class,
script
understand?
where it's very like Miss Fingerly talks
Miss
to her
Fingerly?
students who are doing
Good.
silly things.
I feel like the sketch
Well,
and the improv
all right, kid,
stuff
figure out what
definitely
silly
wasn't
things you're
something
doing.
that, like, was innate in all of us right off the bat.
Right,
but
it's
it
almost
was-
like
it's
come up with
developed,
one
right?
line that's going to be funny and deliver it, and then do it again.
Oh, by the way, 4 to 5 million people may be watching.
Yeah. For some reason, I remember that guy on his right from Pete and Pete. I remember him mostly on being on the like slime shows. He seemed like he was always on those.
So with Nickelodeon, you actually would get a lot of that crossover, which we will go into a little bit later. The show
Okay.
you're thinking of, and if boy, I feel like it's an episode of Figure It Out because you're like, boy, it reminds me of that show he used to go on. And I'm like, Billy the Answerhead, blank show he
Yep.
went on where he'd figure.
Yep.
So the thing that made us think Josh Server was like the biggest deal in the world was, dude was a physical comedian.
Oh yeah.
There wasn't like a thing that it looked like he was afraid to do to get a laugh.
No, he was the type that would always, as soon as you thought he crossed the line, he would go further. It was almost like you've kind of explained it to me as like almost like a kid's version of Jim Carrey.
And I also found out from listening to a lot of these podcasts, I think Mark Paul Gosselaar mentioned it on the Saved by the Bell one, where back in the day, there wasn't as many people on these sets that were like legal and like, oh, we can't have you fall and we can't have you do this stunt. It was more of a, well, if he wants to, we're not going to stop him.
Yes.
Nowadays, they'd be like, all right, get the crash pad and get the 50-year-old guy who looks like Josh Server. He's got a bowl cut and we're shooting from behind.
He'll work.
Dude just wants to make people laugh, and his career didn't go anywhere. He'll take the fall for this kid.
Yep.
That I can bring a little bit of that extra energy from that comedy world. And
There goes the shirt. What does he got? Like some sort of like itch. Now okay, now he's scratching his back on the couch.
Hello.
He just goes all out.
I'm afraid I'll have to mark that
And he's down.
You cannot give up. You can't.
His bowl cut is rocking on point
Oh,
right
dude.
now.
It is money. Absolute money. And he's down. Did he just, was one of his things he would faint a lot as himself?
Feeling weird.
That was a big thing. And the other thing big on Nickelodeon was how often they do things that would humiliate the kids. Like, oh, let's just dump syrup on him for a laugh.
Yeah.
As they say, though, pain is temporary, film is forever.
Forever. And he's still sleeping. Why are they doing this? I remember that girl there on the right. She played that, what was the one guy she played?
Oh, she played Ross Perot.
Yes, so good. I remember that.
Uh-oh, he's going bananas.
Yep. Oh, look at the monkeys.
1, 2, 3.
Oh my God, he's lost it. 2. Just whooped him up with Billy the Bass.
I like how they don't even bother to get connecting hits. They're just like, all right, sound effect, we'll cover it up.
Okay, let me just do this.
You know what's funny about this? Like, you see him doing all these gags and these bits, and it's like, man, he would crush it in a full length film. No?
Exactly, and I think at the time period, I think even as a kid, I was like, this seems weird. He's not like in one of these films that Nickelodeon put out. He's like in 5 minutes overall of the Good Burger movie as Fizz.
Yeah.
But even then,
God.
like, why does Fizz not have a bigger role?
And that's him present day.
That's how the kids view him as a 38-year-old.
It's so crazy because the newer generation of all that, it's like, oh, you're a legend, you're this, you're that. It's like, well, yeah, but they're also just like our age, maybe a little bit older. It's just weird.
Wow, what was it like back in the day? Back in the day, I thought that was Wednesday. Nope,
Yeah, right?
That was 1995.
The 90s were 10 years ago.
Want to redo the math? No, I would not like to redo the math.
Nope, I hate math, matter of fact.
As a matter of fact, it's still 2005, and I am going to bump my Sean Paul music right now.
Yep.
Oh, that grandpa stuff?
Oh, you listen here, you little son of a...
We listen to Big Shaq. Yeah, I listen to Shaq Diesel too. Nope. That's not the Shaq I'm talking about.
You're just making me angry right now. That's all that's happening.
So, when you looked at Josh Server, what comedian did you say he reminded you of?
Just like a younger Jim Carrey. He was just super energetic, physical humor, the rolling around on the ground, the funny facial expressions, just that kind of over-the-top Jim Carrey stuff.
Do you think you were alone in that thought?
Maybe not.
What about this post that I found on a website?
On Thursday, September 15th, 2011, somebody on this blog posted, Josh Server should have been the next Jim Carrey. So clearly I'm not alone in this. You've compared Jim Carrey to Josh Server to me before. But we're here to find out why. Why?
Very simple answer. The clues were always there. He just admits that he was stealing from Jim Carrey and that everything he was doing was influenced by Jim Carrey at the time.
No, he did not.
I guess just steal from the best. Like, I pulled some clips, too, where you watch the reactions and some of the things that he's doing. You're just like, yeah, that's Jim Carrey.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, milkman.
Oh, that was just basically me stealing Jim Carrey stuff for 2 years.
That's correct.
So this was basically just me.
There it is, the milkman.
Like, I feel like the whole first season I was just doing a bad Jim Carrey impression. Like before I figured out that I was.
No, you were inspired. Don't say you were stealing. That's a legal gray area.
Sure you did, Ken.
Right, well, you gotta think, like, when I was that young, I didn't put 2 and 2 together. Like, he was ripping off, quote-unquote, Jim Carrey. But to me, it was just like, well, this is funny as well.
You know so much about this
there you go.
Perhaps you're the burglar.
That I'm kind of like the Jim Carrey-ish guy from all that. So I think that would
He
be
literally
pretty
did.
neat to be able to do, like, a comedy.
Yeah,
How
I was
not
gonna
put the
say,
pieces together?
you can't defend that.
Inspirations.
Can we finish the sketch, please?
All right, now we're just gonna
Like,
put
even
this
that, like,
bib on
weird
you so you
elastic
don't
face
get your
kind of
shirt all
reaction.
dirty.
Yeah, the big facials, the
I was
strange.
just changing my car oil and then
Oh,
I
God.
rolled around in the mud. Open up.
I probably stole all his material for the first 3 or 4 years on all that. I think the entire Milkman character was based on just being like and acting like Jim Carrey.
Come and get me, you big chicken. I'll be waiting. See you later, Super Dude. I gotta go make some more funny milk. Later.
How did they not make a Super Dude movie?
I know.
I mean, they made a Cable Guy movie. Why did he get one?
You're finished.
But you ruined Christmas. So true.
I remember this.
And I'm gonna start by destroying Santa's little presents. No, quit!
You know how, like, Chris Farley shows up on an episode of All That? And he's, like, cooking with Keenan for the chocolate segment?
That's right, yeah.
It's like paradise.
I'm really surprised that there wasn't one time
That's so
where like Jim Carrey
Jim.
comes in and plays his dad.
Right, or plays, like a bigger ear man. You know what I mean?
Like you couldn't see a time where, all right, maybe they have to promote Ace Ventura 2. Well, you want to go on Nickelodeon and talk to the kids? Well, he already does it for like a Kids' Choice Awards. Why wouldn't just show up on this show too?
I've decided to adopt each and every one of you as my own children.
They'd probably give Jim Carrey full reign.
The crazy thing about some of those clips that you just showed us is, well, yeah, it makes perfect sense now that I would always like he was a kid's Jim Carrey because he admits that he was ripping him off, and two, the footage you just played admits that he was just ripping him off from what we saw and heard. But again, when I'm young, I can't put those two things together, so I don't know. But dude, you're opening my freaking eyes today, Joe.
You know, Josh Servant does his comedy. His goes dun 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 dun. But Jim Carrey's goes dun 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 dun. It's not the same.
Yeah. It's that little bitty, yeah.
Ding 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 diggy ding ding. Ding 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 diggy ding ding. Ding ding ding. That's the way theirs goes. Ours goes ding 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 diggy ding ding. Ding 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 diggy ding ding.
So one of the major characters that Josh Server had was Earboy. And what was Earboy's biggest quality?
He could hear well.
Well, when you have ears like this, it's hard not to.
How could you not? Right.
Hi, girls. What's up?
Really big.
Oh, let's all diss the duck.
Ew. They just walked away from him.
With swag like that, how could they do that?
Travolta with huge ears here.
There you go. There's the Ross Perot.
Yeah.
Listen.
Oh, God. Ew.
There's gonna be another big party tonight, and I want to go with you.
Oh my goodness, dude! Earboy was great. I don't necessarily remember his voice or anything, but I remember Earboy and Pizza Face, and when they would always be together, right?
You know, sometimes you feel like an outcast from society, and you think, you know, there's something wrong with my looks. And that was what they were playing on. Acne? Well, that's a pizza face.
Yeah.
Some sort of weird, I don't know, if you got big ears, well, this guy's ears are absurdly huge. And they're just outcasts.
Yep. As great as Earboy was, he wasn't the big one. He wasn't the main attraction.
No.
We all came to see Detective Dan.
Do you really think I pulled Detective Dan clips?
I would hope so for a Josh Server episode, damn it.
Well, the reason we all thought that Josh Server was the funniest thing in the world was Detective Dan. I remember being on the playground and everybody, to be funny, because they thought repeating lines is how you do comedy, would do I'm Detective Dan. and, you know, even then, you have some of this stuff go over your head. So I don't realize he's like a Columbo parody. And
is he?
Detective Dan is he was a spoof originally of kind of like a Dick Tracy. And then I kind of put this like Columbo, you know, like Columbo, that like, you know, he had that like eye and he was always not doing well.
He is. He's got the same kind of unkempt trench coat. Now, he's not like directly Columbo, but he has that same sort of absent-minded, let me just ask you one more thing. And instead of playing dumb to outsmart the criminal, he's just dumb.
So he's more Jim Carrey playing Columbo.
Wow, no wonder I was so into the sketch.
Right?
I will do Detective Dan, fan favorite, love Detective Dan.
Yup.
I'm Detective Dan.
How do you get rid of all the drawings?
Look at him.
Detective Dan.
Did he ever solve anything?
Did someone call for a detective?
No. He got other people arrested. The people who called for help got arrested.
Thank heavens you're here.
I'm Detective Dan. There's no need to worry,
Thank
ma'am.
goodness
Detective
you're here.
Dan is on the case. My hat. Someone's stolen my hat.
Yeah, where's your hat?
Oh, yeah? Well, if that's
Nobody
really
move.
you up in that painting, then what are you doing down here?
Yeah, huh? Yeah.
Detective Dan solved nothing. There was
No.
it was like every other sketch on all that, like Repairman, man.
Oh, I loved Repairman.
None of those people actually did their job properly. And
No, he didn't repair a single thing.
No, Detective Dan didn't solve any mysteries. Repairman didn't repair anything. Walter the Earboy never got any respect. Ross Perot's schemes never worked. All that's vital information was not vital or information.
No.
And Principal Pimpel wasn't ever respected as an authority figure.
Oh, man, you're bringing me way back. I've forgotten about a lot of this stuff until just now. This is great.
Now, the earlier seasons that people talk about of all that were, like, very almost adult influenced. Like, they let the kids have their own lines. The people in charge must have been very hands-off. People point out that the musical acts at that time, like, they were really hip-hop heavy.
They really were.
It was like, we're going to see LL Cool J or Naughty by Nature or, like, Rakim or something like that. And you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, and I definitely remember, like, a special live performance by TLC. And like those kind of groups, man.
Well, it'd be like the most hardcore kind of hip hop. Well, not hardcore, but just like, really? That's the musical act on a kid's show?
Yeah, like definitely not kids, like super kid friendly.
Oh, you know what the kids love? Tribe Called Quest.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they actually do. That's actually being more in touch with what kids were sneaking off to listen to.
You know what, kids? Don't go chasing waterfalls. Here's TLC.
What are they going to do? What are they going to do, shoop? What's that about? It's better you don't know.
Talk about sex.
Oh.
Whoa, wait a minute now.
We're going to have Ice Cube on.
No, hold on now. No, Vaseline.
I don't want to know what PRS car goes into. They were sneaking in jokes that, well, like Columbo parodies.
Yep.
And the OJ trial?
No. They wouldn't dare.
We, the jury, in the above
Channel
entitled
106B
action,
News.
find the defendant, Milkman, not guilty of all charges.
If the milk fits, you must acquit.
Yep. Nice.
I like that they're just like, yeah, we're going there. This is exactly a shot-for-shot parody of the verdict of O.J. Simpson.
That is so interesting that they would do that.
Oh, nowadays it's like, no, we're not doing that. This is a kid show.
I mean, you would get called out by anybody in the world that has a Twitter account. Back then, it was more, are they really going to go through the trouble to write a letter to Nickelodeon, you know?
Yeah, and then it's only like, well, the adult in the room will know what they're parodying, and they'll probably appreciate it because they're so burnt out on the other shows on the network that are just so far removed from what they're into.
Exactly.
That when they see like a kind of a clever parody, they'll be like, you know, all that is actually kind of funny.
All that kind of is all that.
Like, you ever have that thing where like your mom or dad or an uncle or somebody else, an older person will be like, yeah, I used to watch that show with you. And, you know, that was really good. Really? You actually liked watching that with me?
What? Yeah.
That's what this show was. Now, the other characters Josh Server had, you know, they're just as memorable. Maybe not as memorable as Detective Dan, but come on. These are just as good.
Now, I look at acting as far more than just stuff. It's a craft, a discipline to be mastered.
Wow. A true professional.
So, what you're telling me is that you're a vampire.
Wait, was this on the show or was that like a real interview?
A real interview.
Said, okay, you do it the first pass.
That's a good Jack Nicholson impression.
Wait, what was the name of that host? I remember that girl.
Okay,
oh, that's Summer Sanders.
I freaking knew it.
Former Olympic swimmer.
That's cool.
My name is Maggot.
Good morning, Mother.
He's cool.
See, the reason you think he could be on an SNL is look out how he inhabits these characters that he was playing.
Don't try to change the subject. Now, where's the explosive meat?
Jimmy Bond.
You wouldn't happen to have any aspirin, would you?
Oh, let me look in my purse.
I can't go out there like this. My throat just ain't
Oh,
working
he's gonna
with
get
me.
canceled.
It's the groove, baby.
Hi, Josh. What you doing?
Ah, dude, that's great stuff. Come on.
Milking the cow.
So that's what I loved about Nickelodeon. They just have segments where it's like, oh, this guy's just milking a cow. That's what he's into.
Yeah, like after the shoot, he's just hanging out in the studio milking a cow.
And then you'd like watch it from home, and you wouldn't get that it's absurdity. So you'd be like, he's so out there. I want to hang with that guy. He does this stuff, and I want to hang out with a guy who just randomly is milking a cow.
Yeah. Oh, here we go.
There, I fixed it. Now it's all small.
You said you wanted it. Oh, God. What was this character's name?
Oh, so this was his Tony Little parody of like the Gazelle freestyle.
But there's no yeehaw in my rule book.
Right. See, to me, it was like Ben Stiller in Heavyweights kind of thing.
Yes. Which would probably be a direct correlation with Keenan being in Heavyweights.
Yeah.
That means you lose.
Look at that hair, dude.
These are awful. Look at this. Look what you gave me. Look at these hot
What? Oh, man.
And then there are certain Nickelodeon tropes that were around. Like, you notice how half the time all their sketches, as they pointed out, ended with somebody crashing through something?
Always.
The other thing I noticed with Josh Server is he had a few tropes of his own. Like, a lot of times, for some reason, his characters would end up electrocuted.
What? All right, I need to see this now. Here we go.
All right.
Who's this little girl with him?
I don't know, but she came prepared.
Oh, God. I'm alive.
You know, I kind of want to write just a nice Nickelodeon sketch where it's like, how do I end it? I'm going to electrocute you.
He's going to get electrocuted, and then he's going to faint and fall through a table.
And then the other thing with Josh Server, and it's a little weird now looking back at it.
Oh, God. Come on. What is it?
Well, when you're the same age as them doing jokes where suddenly they just rip off their clothes, it's funny, right? But if you're going back and watching that, like your favorite story of me trying to work out and watch The Shield at the gym and being like, oh, God, what's on my screen? Well, you kind of have this going on because, all right, now I'm just watching a show where a 15-year-old boy rips off his clothes in the name of comedy.
Right.
And you're like,
yeah,
it's of its time period.
Right.
Did you ever get embarrassed working on any scenes?
Pretty much all of them consistently forever. Yeah, I mean they were all
pretty much
they
all
were,
of them.
They were built to embarrass us, right? Like because sketch comedy is so silly.
Well, that was the thing is he was never afraid to go over the top and make a fool of himself, and I think that's why he resonated with so many of us, right?
Right. Like, you know, you say you want to be a child star. This is what you'd be living like. You'd be like, oh,
dude, I wish.
They're all into me. Whatever I do, I'm cool to all these girls.
Yeah. Detective Dan,
now,
put it back on.
I'm touching Sarah's face. She might get the chicken pox. She might not. Chances are, she will.
Well, when did you last have your
Can you tell me what happened to that girl?
Baking that cake.
Some of them just disappear.
Oh,
yeah.
Actually, you should see the pictures of her now.
Me out of detective, and I
or at least in 5-10 years.
Where is that? Dude, you could not watch this back at the gym while you're doing cardio.
No.
They'd be like, you need to leave, pervert.
A snowman.
It's true. I make man out of snow.
So?
As you can see, he's not wearing any pants.
He's got double boxers on, though.
Thank goodness.
Hey.
You and your draws, dude.
Hey, at least whoever booked the show made sure that there's no slit in the front. There's no chance of anything leaving the barnyard.
He wasn't afraid to be a fool, man. You gotta respect that.
So what, besides the cast members and the sketches, do you remember the most from all that?
I almost said Coolio, but I remember him from Kenan and Kel, the theme song.
It starts with CO. It's a,
really?
It's a big item. Like, it's food.
A cow?
It's a big piece of food.
Corn?
The big ear of corn.
Wait, why is that a thing? I thought he was just using that to cover himself up.
Because the big ear of corn was the big thing from all that. Everybody loved the big ear of corn. The big ear of corn was a celebrity.
I don't remember that from the show at all.
Maybe you will when I play some of these clips.
Here we go. Fire them up.
It's the big ear of corn. So what was wrong with the corn?
Nothing. It turns out that the big ear of corn wasn't even sick at all. Katrina.
Oh.
Prepare to have your mind blown. The big hair corn was a girl all along.
Oh, come on. Look at all the baby corns.
Could you imagine?
This is like a real gag on the show.
Could you imagine the person who owns all those props?
So after a while, I just went to the doctor and had it removed.
How many of those did they sell? Wait, does he just have like a bar drinking with a big thing of
Man,
corn?
did we have some good times.
Yeah, you gotta love the big ear corn.
Oh, I do. I mean, as a friend.
Wait a minute. Is Josh the father of all those little corns?
Oh no, don't say that.
That last clip was from the All That anniversary special. It was like the 100th episode cast reunion of all like the old cast. And then like the season 7, season 8, season 9 cast. So they're like, oh, look at this old man, Josh Server, who's probably like 23 in that clip.
Yeah, but he just looks so out of place because these are all kid actors, and he's at that point a grown-ass man. You know what I mean?
Right. And it's like, well, you don't see Keenan in that party. Actually, Keenan does show up to be Pierre Escargot in one of the sketches.
He better.
But at that point, you're like, oh, he's already kind of moved on, and he's doing us a favor by showing up. Josh was kind of like, oh, he's just still here.
Yeah, it was almost like he needs the work. Like you just actually brought up something cool. Like you mentioned him and Keenan, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's not even talk about how long Keenan's been on SNL. Let's just talk about things that he's been doing as a child actor. Keenan went on to do Mighty Ducks, which was huge.
Mm-hmm. And
it's like where were those roles for Josh Server? Why wasn't he landing those roles when he was that young? I don't understand. Like, why was it only All That?
You know, it's almost like you look at some of these ones and you're like, well, if he failed a couple times, I could see them being like, all right, maybe this just isn't the road to go down. But there's not even that, like, failure either. It's just sort of a
no, there was
done.
no chance. Yeah.
Because Keenan is like, all right, we give him and Kel are going to do Good Burger now, and the Keenan and Kel show, and then, you know, all right, now they've graduated, and they got to try to float and succeed on their own, and then Keenan gets SNL, and then that's where him and Kel start having separate careers.
Yep.
And then you start seeing, all right, well, Kel's doing B movies and things like Ganked, and the Kel Mitchell show where he does a bunch of sketch comedy songs. But there's nothing like that for Josh.
No, it's so weird, dude. It really is. Like, you think of all the, like... All right, so, I mean, we got to call All That what it is. It's like a kid's version of SNL. So, a lot of those, like, characters on SNL that got really over got their own films.
Yes.
And you look at All That, Keenan and Kel got their own film for Good Burger. But where in the world were those roles in those films for Josh Server? I don't understand why. This is crazy.
When they're making Harriet the Spy, they couldn't
exactly,
go Detective
Harriet
Dan.
The Spy.
Detective Dan the movie.
Right, immediately after, just drop it the next year. Like, come on. I would have loved a Detective Dan film. I'm pissed now.
Now, we keep mentioning Keenan and Kel as the examples because, well, they were the boys club. They were the boys club of Nickelodeon at that time.
But would you say the biggest star to come out of All That was Amanda Bynes?
For a while, yes. But when she had her career meltdown, it's got to be Keenan for his longevity.
Right. But, I mean, think. SNL was never was it ever really supposed to be something that you would stay on forever? Or was that supposed to be your catapult to a film career?
Most people say, like, you got to do 5 to 7, and then you're hanging around too long after. So Keenan's definitely staying around too long, but...
Yeah, he's coming up on 20, but you have to think, he's already done TV before SNL. He's already done films before SNL. So it's like, who's to say he needs SNL to catapult him to movies when he's already done successful movies with Disney and Nickelodeon as a kid?
He was Fat Albert.
Okay, yep, exactly.
We grew up like basically brothers and sisters because There's nobody else to really hang out with, so we were kind of forced to hang out with one another.
You're making me think of a lot. More than I anticipated thinking today.
You guys see what I see? I see it.
What is it?
Like they just have this kind of chemistry together.
We had a
No,
little
a
boys
popcorn
club, you know,
shark.
me, Keenan and Kel.
Yeah, more like that.
And I think we would always be
Yeah,
trying
more
to
like
push
that.
the envelope.
We didn't exactly know what we should do with these.
So does anybody just have access to him now? Is that what this is?
And make each other laugh.
Because he seems to be doing like real low budget webcasts and podcasts.
For a certain period of time, he was doing a lot of this Web 1.0, easy access, like, do you remember me? You remember me? All right, I'll do your thing. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, transparency, I tried to reach out to him, didn't hear a damn thing, so
Damn.
we're either not big enough, or he just doesn't care anymore.
Right.
Or he's a little bit more famous now that he's on All That again.
Unequivocally,
Yeah.
sir. Unequivocally.
So
see,
how many
it means
years in between
yes
his
in a big
last
way.
episode on his first All That run and his first episode on his most current All That run?
Impress a gym coach. I want you to go out there.
Gotta
and
be 19 to 20
tough.
years.
I want you to go out there and show
Golly,
me
that's so
muscle.
crazy.
It's cool. Let's just do the scene, guys. I'll pick it up again. But they opened the crate anyway. And all of a sudden, a huge, hideous monster jumped out!
I'm Alan, A-L-A-N.
And I'm Alan, A-double-L-E-N.
This morning we're talking
The
about...
appeal of these
What
shows
else?
was, like, you could probably recreate this stuff with your friends if you had
yeah.
super access to the VHS camera.
42% saturated.
And you'd be like,
Well, I mean, the thing is like we were doing a lot of
Martha, you see me?
silly stuff like this even without the camera.
Audience.
You're not allowed on stage.
and it was because we were influenced by these guys because they could do it,
Exactly.
we could do it.
Medication.
Yeah. Look at that's him as a woman.
No, silly. Why do you ask? No reason. Hey.
Look at the hair.
Welcome, Mr.
Dude,
Roach,
I gotta say, it's a soft spot for me when he does the old man.
He has Terry Bradshaw's hairline.
Yeah, or Hulk.
Hold on to your waffles, mister.
Excuse me, who are you?
What? He just went
I
off.
am Tandy Spark.
You know, I kind of want to be Josh Server's agent to tell him to get on TikTok because I feel like he would
I
crush
know,
it.
come on. With all the different characters and skits.
Like, you just showed me Jason Marsden on TikTok.
Yeah.
And he's crushing it. And it's like...
He's funny.
Yeah, and it's like, well, Jason Marsden kind of falls into the same realm as your Josh Server where, all right, you get the initial people who know you, who'd follow you, like us, and we'd find you first, and then suddenly people would be like, wait, this guy's really funny. Oh,
Yeah.
because he's got the comedy background, obviously.
Yep.
So these people were just all over Nickelodeon, which is why I always thought they were more famous than they were, because you work for Nickelodeon, you're doing all kinds of promotion for Nickelodeon.
So that was always fun. They kept us busy doing a lot of stuff other than that, you know, Good Burger and things like that.
Here.
Is that Wade Robinson?
Yup. It's gotta be. Teaching him how to dance.
Shot
Look at that
on
ridiculous hat.
Universal
That is great.
In Orlando, and then we moved the show to LA.
Dude, he's
so
hanging out with
we were
Nick
always getting
Lachey.
to joke a lot on set.
Right?
Nickelodeon is proud to present A Better World.
Hey, you want to save the planet? Well, who's the best option?
And I mean that in a
Well, we
good
could
way.
get Captain Planet, but he's
thanks.
lame.
I
So
like
let's
green.
get Josh
I guess
Server.
you're not the only one.
Yeah.
Looks like big helpers all over have been busy greenifying.
Such
Like
a
planting
little
trees and
Amanda
cleaning up
Bynes
parks.
there. It's crazy to me. Looking back at
I
this
know.
stuff.
Let's count how many trees the kids have planted.
Would you
in the
wear
last
those
20
green
years.
leggings?
1,000,
Yeah.
5,000, 9,300.
Big help. Better world.
Get lost, guy.
Yeah.
Was I?
Right here.
So then also, you have them at the Kids' Choice Awards, where kids make the picks.
Of course, right? And you know they were just raking in the awards, right?
So
Who is that talking right now? The girl.
Alicia Reyes, and she actually
Why don't I remember her at all?
Because she was on the first 2 seasons of All That, and then for some reason she was gone.
And I
What?
think I know
Why?
Oh, you do
I
ya?
think they age out, or they're no longer that important.
Kids all over the
But she
youth
stuck
are
around, and she was
recycling more
like
than
doing a
Well,
show
sure.
for
They are
Playboy,
donating more
and
food and
she's
clothing
actually
to needy
pretty
veterans.
hot.
Well, yeah.
And they're doing more
Yikes.
nursing homes and writing more petitions
I
and
actually
cleaning
asked a
up more
question to her
parks,
while I was
helping out
pulling
the
these
parents.
episodes, because in season 4 or 5, there's this cast member who shows up for like 3 or 4 episodes I'd never seen before. And I'm like, all right, I'm looking through the credits. Who is this girl? I asked her, and she replied and gave me my answer.
Nice.
So I was like, thanks for helping me out.
Yeah.
Elisa Reyes.
Then the elves make it look all orange and use a special paint filled with real gold.
And there's only
Dude, that's the OG crew right there. That's what I'll always remember. I love it.
Who's enjoying this 100
Dude, of
episodes?
course she would drop it. Now, was all that always done in front of a live
A lot
crowd?
of work goes into
Yes.
making an episode of all that.
I love
and since
that.
it's our 100th episode,
It's very
we are gonna give
impressive
you a
when
very
they're
special
able to do this in front of a live
behind-the-scenes
audience.
tour of
That
the All That studio.
they're kids,
I think we
so
should
they
go
have
back
even
to Keenan
worse attention
backstage.
spans than
Keenan, where are-
adults.
Keenan, where are you
Yep.
at?
And they're probably just like, all right, be silly, or I'm just going to start making a lot of noise. But then I bet Nickelodeon security guards are like, get making noise, tackle them, get them out of here. We don't.
All right, so with Nickelodeon being at Universal, right? Would they just rotate in a new crowd every couple hours to just continuously tape stuff?
You know, I'm not sure with this one. I don't think they would, only because each week is just one singular episode. So
okay.
I believe they had like rehearsal day, and if I remember the interviews, it was like a Thursday or Friday was like one rundown, and then Saturday was when they actually would do the show.
Okay, gotcha.
Now, the king of Nickelodeon and the guy who made a lot of these hit shows was Dan Schneider.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is that him? Yeah.
Controversial. Look into it on other channels. This isn't the place to find out more about Dan Schneider.
No, it is not.
But he's the guy who helped make all that. Then did Kenan and Kel, The Amanda Show, Drake and Josh, and iCarly.
iCarly, yeah.
Victorious, Sam and Cat, Game Shakers. It's
crazy, man.
He's like the dude, and that's him in this clip. And this is just an example that, well, Josh may not have had his show. He was kind of on every Nick show.
Yeah, it was like, if you're gonna put him on every show, give him his own show. He can handle the workload, clearly.
That's a bowl cut of a champion.
Look at the middle part, dude.
I wish I could get it to split like that.
Dad?
You know what's funny is that's how all the girls now
What are you doing on
wear
stage?
their hair
You
with
can't
the
be
part
down here.
down the middle.
I know. Rules. Guilty as charged.
How would they feel if you called it the Josh server?
Well, I did a bunch of stuff.
That's what I'm gonna
for
start calling it.
Nickelodeon.
Hello and welcome to Good Burger, home of the Good Burger. May I take your order, miss?
Dude, he climbed the
And they
crag.
even tested our guts.
Dude, no way.
Let me see your working
So was it
papers,
like,
missy.
did the cast of
I'm
the show
still in while
compete
the owners
on
our dinner break.
guts?
Now, what can I get you?
No.
Alex Mack.
Hey!
No, it was a
All right, relax,
promo.
sweetheart. I'm just toying with
Okay.
you.
I mean, you have access to the sets when
Why
you're
are you
down in the
messing with
Universal
me?
Studios.
I'm just trying to do my job.
Right.
That'll be 60 cents.
Well, see, I only had one bite. How about I give you a dime?
60
I remember
cents.
Alex Mack.
Well,
that was like,
all
dude,
I got
for a
on
while,
me
that
is
was a really
30, but
popular
my friends
show.
will be back soon, and they'll take
Larissa
care of
Olnick
I
was
need you to pay me
huge.
now.
I think she's one of those
I like
ones when
your
you talk about
chances.
90s crushes
Other
that,
than,
like, you could
all
pick
that,
as.
I did an episode of
Man,
Kenan and Kel.
that's one too. You gotta throw her in my top 5 or top 10.
She's in love with another
Right.
guy.
It's so interesting seeing him go from like the super young looking kid with the big bowl cut to having this kind of shorter hairstyle
to another guy.
and being a little bit older.
Little gelled up, little cooler.
Yeah.
These kids, they grow up so fast on TV.
An episode
They
of
do.
Ned's Declassified.
And that's the thing. It's like, you know, maybe 3-4 seasons go by and they don't look anything like they did when they started.
And then-
I mean, that's just, you know.
And then you try to go back when you're way older on Ned's Declassified.
Drake and Josh.
Yep.
Hey, kid.
And Drake and
How you feeling?
Josh.
Okay. A little nervous. Relax. You're gonna be great. Can you cover up that pimple on his chin? It's huge. Oh, jeez.
Which a lot of people have told me they've seen.
Cover up
Do you
that
want a
pimple,
donut?
please.
It's got sprinkles.
Sure. Thanks.
Well, that's kind of cool that he would get called
Just
back
let me
and,
know.
just be able to play
Will do.
random characters and make cameos, right?
Well, you can trust him because if you're booking these shows, it's like,
any chance,
oh,
would you like
I know
to be in
that
the
kid. That kid's
reenactment?
really funny. He's still a
Right.
funny adult. He'll nail this part because he knows my writing.
Yeah, and he knows the style.
Like if I say, all right, be over the top. This kid's, I mean, if anyone knows, go over the top.
Yeah.
Now, the one show that you mentioned that you always saw him and Danny Tamborelli on was...
Figure It Out.
You figured it out. Yeah, Josh Server was, I want to say in 10 to 15 episodes of Figure It Out, which actually was kind of low from my memory. It was like he was always on.
Yeah, it seemed like it.
But not as much as I actually thought. But when he was on, he was so over the top and so memorable that, well, yeah, it makes sense that you would just picture him on the panel.
It was like the perfect kind of style show for him because it wasn't sitcom style, but when it came time for the camera to be on him, for him to, do his answer, he could just turn it on and just crush it.
The thing with Figure It Out is, like, if the kid is kind of a dud or just doesn't have an on-camera personality, it's really up to the panelists to go over the top with their comedy.
Yep.
And one of my favorite things, in another instance of, wow, they'd never get away with asking these questions, is they call and ask the kid if he's a member of the Communist Party.
What?
So I did a lot of those, a lot of stuff for Nickelodeon that wasn't all that, Figure It Out.
From all that, Josh Server.
Dude, Figure It Out was great.
Good to see you.
Are you or have you ever been a member of the
I remember
Communist
Michael
Party?
O'Malley.
And Michael O'Malley's asking this kid if she's a communist, and the answer everything goes off like that was a yes.
What do you think ever happened?
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wait, no, that was a no, right?
You're not a communist, kid.
Are you Little Pete's personal massage therapist?
No, I'm sorry, I'm not.
No.
Okay, here you go. This is how it works. If she gets in a little circle,
See, Pete was always on
he
there.
gets drenched.
Come on, bring it on! Bring it on!
Oh,
the secret slime action
dude.
is looking at Josh.
That's so mean, Josh.
Danny.
Of course it is.
Clock's running.
Just has to look at him. It's over for him, dude. It's over for him. There it goes.
Blank.
Figure It Out was so great, man. I missed that show.
That's all me.
I want that sound to be on my shower.
Yeah. Wait, who was the bald guy again on his left? On the left there?
That was Kevin.
Okay. What was he from?
He was the stage manager on all that.
Right, okay. And they're all getting... Dude, that's why the show is so great.
I might have like PTSD about that sound. It's
Yeah.
Uh-oh. Have you ever actually been slimed?
No.
So up at Santa's Village,
I've done like paint parties and stuff with like buckets and buckets of paint, but never like the actual slime.
Oh, so we had it at Santa's Village, and there was like a little side attraction where they did a kind of a Figure It Out type show.
Yeah.
And at the very end, they wanted audience volunteers, and they picked me to go up and be slimed. And then as I'm up there, they're like, who do you want to have slime you? And I'm like, fine. My sister can slime me. But I point, and my cousin thinks I pointed at him. So he's bolting towards the stage like, all right, it's me. I get to slime you. And he gets pulled down. And it's like, no, Chrissy gets to slime him. And you see this look at his face like, I am so mad right now. You have ruined the perfect opportunity for me.
Yeah.
It's like wet goop, basically.
Yeah.
Like, you ever do those craft projects? Or like gack or something. Like a wetter, kind of more fluidy gack.
Is it warm or is it cold?
It's cold.
Okay.
It's got a very jello-y texture, if it's the same as what they're using there. Ugh.
There's one clip that I've seen going around TikTok recently, and I have no idea why. It's Katy Perry at a Nickelodeon Kids Award show, and she opens up the box to get the name of the person who won, and the slime just shoots out and knocks the wig off her head. And it's just the funniest thing. Like, man, they packed a punch on that one.
You know, it kind of reminds me when you're watching the, oh God, what the heck is that show? Double Dare. And it's like,
yep.
All right, reach into this giant nose for all the fake boogers and everything else. And like, they're climbing inside of that nose. And they're
great show.
They're literally being swallowed up by booger. At a certain point, what happens to every child star?
You age out of that role. You know, you get to a certain age, you start to look a certain way, and it's like, do you transition into different stuff, or do you go away for a while and learn a new hold, as Jim Ross would say?
Well, the end was starting to feel near for Josh Server when it came to season 6.
And by the time I was in my 20s, we had done over 6 seasons, 100+ episodes, where I got to bring to life a lot of different characters, all sketch, all fun.
In his 20s.
So he was in his 20s. He still got to be on all that.
Very funny, Josh.
See, I don't remember. I remember Amanda Bynes, but I don't remember any of these other kids, dude. Do you?
Yes, but at this point, I was aging out as well.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like my OGs. I only like Josh Server. The rest of these kids suck.
Seasons, I was,
yeah,
I was on there, and
that's why
I kept showing up, and they wanted me to leave, but I wouldn't.
Josh, cut it out. We're trying to watch Leon eat peanuts. Josh!
Like, you watch these kids, and I guess they're probably funny, too, the kids who grew up with them. But it was like, I don't know. I don't like them. I don't like these kids.
And where were you January
40th,
1931?
No.
I wasn't born yet, and besides, there's no such thing as January.
Like, I guess they're funny as well, but they're not as funny as my cast members.
You know, I feel like the later seasons,
even Josh agrees,
felt more comfortable.
It's crazy that he was on the show that freaking long, man.
A performer, so I think I enjoyed those, but I definitely still liked when everyone was still there. You know, the later seasons, some of my older castmates had gone. Not that I didn't enjoy working with all the new ones.
Yeah, they had kind of moved on, and he was kind of like the Lone Ranger.
Do we really need to be adding more cast members? I mean, she's okay, but I mean, we were.
Yes, this is what I asked. I said, "Who is this girl, Trisha?"
Leon and Mark.
No idea.
And Cannon and Amanda. They were all great.
I definitely kind of remember Nick Cannon coming onto the show because I used to be a big Nick Cannon fan.
Maybe
way back in the day.
Everyone was still together.
But here's the one that blew my mind. Gabrielle Iglesias was a cast member.
Hey guys, I think Josh really thinks he's Detective Dan.
Not Gabrielle Iglesias. What the guy who plays Fluffy, the comedian, the big fat guy.
No, he was not.
Cast member for season 6. Yeah.
Just hit me with this.
I don't believe you.
And I'm gonna find out whom.
Guys, what are we gonna do? The show's about to start.
Kid has a puka shell. I hate him.
It?
So long, Dr. Baby.
See, Jimmy Bond. See, like, even Jimmy Bond, like, all right, now you're just a little too old now to be that character as well.
Yeah, it's a little.
But you
just what? There he is for real.
So you eat it.
You're just saying that.
No, I'm not. You ate my Hall Pass. What kind of a person eats another person's
So how
Hall
is he in the
Pass?
school?
He's just too cool to leave.
Yeah.
Dear all that cast.
Well, man,
I
he
just
was so
love your
good
show.
at it for so
And not
long.
Just because it's funny. I love all that because all you kids on the show seem so nice.
I don't think he's gonna turn back into Josh.
So Kel was still there.
Up until season 5, and even then, he was splitting duties. Like, he wasn't even on half the episodes.
See, I did it again. Hey guys, has
Right.
seen my 2 million
Wait a
peanuts?
minute.
Wait, what?
Detective
Somebody
Dan and
stole
Josh
your
are two different people?
Don't worry.
What?
Detective Dan's on the case. Geronimo!
Geronimo.
Say, what do you
Was
say
that
we
like
go
one
do
of his
the show?
catchphrases?
No. You know what? I didn't want to do this stupid sketch anymore. I'm leaving. Danny Tamborelli, come on, let's go.
No.
So you can tell he's pretty much aging out at this point, because I pulled this press conference from like one of those news junkets, and like his style of humor and just what he thinks is funny is so much different than his cast members who kind of get offended by his jokes, and it's like,
what?
Okay, fine. I guess he's a little more adult now, and that's not cool. Get lost.
So this looks like Kids' Choice Awards 2000.
Taking time, maybe by the pool, getting some sun, some skin cancer.
That's not
Taking in some rays.
That's not funny.
No,
Oh,
it's
gosh.
not funny. Thank you for pointing that out to all these fine people.
I'm sorry, Josh.
Were you guys there?
You weren't there.
No, the Young Bucks weren't there.
Yikes.
See? He's just like, You could tell he's sick of these kids. Like,
Yeah.
they're not his pals.
No.
Like, that's like when you're at a job or someplace too long and all your friends are gone and you're like, I hate all these new people. They all suck. Get lost.
Well, dude, it was like, I don't remember those seasons, and I definitely don't remember any of those people, but it's like, I don't know, the creators of the show thought, well, damn, we have to have Josh on here still so the show can still be funny.
So we get to the point now, it's time for him to leave. It's over. The party is done.
So instead of becoming like transitioning into more adult roles, he decides just to leave and become a real estate agent. What?
It was like, all right, it's time for you to either become the big time celebrity or find that other thing that you're passionate about. And he even satirizes that in a web series later on where he plays an aging child sitcom star who's in a all that type parody show.
Really?
Yeah, and he makes fun of the very thing that happened to him where he's an older celebrity kid being aged out of a show and being pushed out for a fake kind of Amanda Bynes type.
Yep.
But then, you have rumors like this that you're seeing right here. He quit the business to become a real estate agent?
No.
Well, that's the thing, is his kind of
probably
after all that casting.
When I was younger and on the show.
It's tough to figure out what exactly he did, because it's very vague, even with research.
And just a lot of life experiences has tried to keep me humble.
I'm glad YouTube didn't exist when we did
I will say, just like being in that profession, like when you're a kid, you can get away with stuff. You can get away with not knowing because they're like, oh, well, he's a kid, he's a teenager or whatever. And now as an adult, you can't show up and make those mistakes. So it does.
He's a kid. He doesn't understand.
Like, what's up with this guy, right? So it does. I think it prepares you to be a professional, right? Because you have a learning curve when you're young.
Sometimes you have to step away from something to understand how good you've got it.
Man, I really wish Cal would have accomplished more.
Because it's true what they say, when you're doing what you are passionate about,
so much.
You never work a day in your life.
I remember. I used to do that.
So there's a Josh Server Facebook fan page. Clearly, you pulled some of this from.
Oh, no, it's your guys' show. I couldn't.
Come on, for
Well,
old time's sake.
I'm not alone in wondering what happened to this guy.
Right.
He's one of the biggest mysteries of where'd he go.
Yep.
And even in these clips, it's very vague of like, all right, I was gone. Well, how'd you disappear for like 5 years without doing anything? I was just around. And where was he? Just hanging around Nickelodeon.
Ed was like a small little part, but I knew some people over at Nickelodeon who kind of brought me in. And
so
they
it's
said
like,
they wanted me to
was
do
he
it.
living off royalties
so
to
it was
just,
a
all
short
right, every
little
once in a
week,
while I'll show up on a
we had a lot of fun
Nick
shooting
show?
that. And the Drake and Josh thing was a little bit more time intensive, but those guys are great. I mean, that was a fun set.
So
to
right
work
at the
on.
end
I
of his
remember
career
everyone
with
welcoming me
Nickelodeon,
with
he
open
was just
arms.
kind of showing up on other shows, just doing
those guys
little
are just
cameo
both really
roles.
talented guys, and they're both really funny. So
Yeah, that's he was just like a utility player,
it's so funny because
maybe doing spot
a lot of people
shows
talk to me
and
about the Drake and Josh.
that's kind of what makes you wonder. He's too young to disappear and do spot shows. This is like a position of 40-year-old or 50-year-old or like guy who had like a 200 episode huge sitcom does.
Yep.
We brought you pizza.
Oh, that is so
Like, you know who does this type of thing?
Yeah. And we brought
Having
you
like
some
Michael J.
flowers.
Fox show up on a sitcom for like an episode or two and pinch hit
Oh, and,
because he has money to not do this.
I love you, man.
Thank you.
We just came to wish you good luck on your show tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, break a leg.
Thanks.
You welcome.
Aww.
Bye.
Thank you.
They're like, hey, we got to bring in Keenan and Josh to co-sign her new show.
The thing you're wondering is, he's not a retiree and he's clearly able to host things or be part of a sitcom. So why are there more and more clips of Nickelodeon giving him half a chance, half of a show, one-time hosting gigs?
Right.
It's time for Oh Yeah Cartoons.
Oh Yeah,
And
Cartoons.
now, from the Nickelodeon Animation Studio, here's your host, Josh Server.
I don't remember
Hi, I'm
this.
Josh, and this is Oh Yeah Cartoons, and
Oh Yeah
there's a lot of
Cartoons, from what
vegetarians
I
out there who think it's
researched,
cruel
because
to eat
honestly,
animals.
it wasn't a big hit for them either,
don't think it's cruel to
was
eat
like
vegetables.
a collection of
If you were a
one-off
vegetable,
cartoons
you
put
might
into
think
like a
this is
package
pretty
every
okay.
week of
In
like
fact, you
oh, this artist made this abstract cartoon, and it's 8 minutes long, and it's not a series or anything, but you might enjoy it.
Yeah.
And maybe down the road, it could become a cartoon series.
I mean, I could see them picking Josh to host it. He has great slapstick, like, physical kind of humor.
Bring us to
even in these more current clips. See, Ariana Grande loves it.
Dude, I didn't even recognize him. That was him?
Yeah, that was him. And he doesn't look that old.
Is he kind of more now just playing adult roles for Nickelodeon? Because I always thought that could be kind of cool too. Like, I looked at the guy that played Crazy Steve and played, you know, Carly's older brother. I'm like, that seems like a pretty cool role, and he's funny in those shows.
It is kind of that perfect role that, like, yeah, Jerry Trainer, he does that kind of thing, and then, all right, he might voice some things on a Nickelodeon cartoon and just stay in their infrastructure of, we got this project, you're a guy, we know what you can do, go.
Yep.
So like I mentioned, he wanted to try to keep his relevancy by doing web series and web comedy, which is quite a drop-off for somebody who was getting a big studio to back his projects. You're telling me that almost nobody wants to take a shot at him?
Yeah, that's the part that doesn't make sense to me. It's like he has like a 6, 7, 8 year track record of doing it extremely well on a big hit show, but yet no studio anywhere wants to give him a shot at his own show or a feature-length film. Like, why? I don't get it.
Or even just being the sixth guy on like a sitcom somewhere. Like, all right, maybe he couldn't have been on a Parks and Recreation as some eccentric character, as maybe like, you know, you have 1 or 2 scenes every show and you're really funny in it and then you're gone and maybe it feels like a step down, but it's a consistent career.
Yep. That's a bummer, dude. I don't get it.
So like I said, his web series was called Laugh Out Loud, and it was early MySpace comedy.
No.
And I wanted to go back and find these episodes because I watched them when they first came out, but it's like they've been erased from the internet. Now, from my summary of what I remember was Josh plays basically himself in the last season of All That, but the show's called Laugh Out Loud.
Yeah.
And then he's basically confronted that, all right, you're off the show. We're transitioning to this young girl character who's an Amanda Bynes parody.
So he's pretty much taking the scenario that's happening to him in real life and making a web series about it.
Yes. And then
that's kind of smart, right?
Yep. And it goes in that same vein as like Curb Your Enthusiasm, where they blend reality with a fictionalized version of the character. So he's trying to figure out, how do I make this transition, which is what the whole episode today is about.
Wow.
And he goes to seek out advice from fictional Keenan, who's still his pal and working on SNL and becoming a bigger star.
Fictional Keenan.
And it's the real Keenan who is part of this web series. And then he also has Nick Cannon make a guest appearance.
Wow.
And I want to say there's like another cast member or two that show up somewhere in one of the 6 episodes.
That's so cool. Is this kind of like the first, like, I remember didn't Drake Bell do something like this? A web series? But obviously much after this.
It was called Where's Walter, where he reunited a bunch of the cast and did inside jokes. And this is way before it, before something like that. So it's like Josh is trying again. So now I'm really confused, because did he not want to be a celebrity, or did he want to be a celebrity and stayed in and nobody wanted him?
Yeah.
You, Keenan, and Kel need to join Keenan on SNL for one night. A lot of fans want it. From your lips to God's ears.
You're probably saying to yourself, who the hell is this handsome man?
Cool.
He looks like he could be on the movies.
So then in later years, he's done like sketch comedy with Dana Tanarelli.
Really? And they're just, reminiscing on the golden years and having some fun together. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. So look at this 2007 MySpace page where it's like,
wow,
the interest, and we got funny MySpace gas, and there's a chicken suit man, and there's fake Amanda Bynes in part 3 of the episode, and this was what it was like on All of That behind the scenes for me.
Man, I never knew about any of this.
Maybe he should have followed more Jim Carrey. He should have figured out how to transition to being funny Jim Carrey to serious Jim Carrey. Yeah, he was still trying to act. And, making little attempts here and there that just didn't seem to go anywhere.
Well, of course he was still trying to act. He's not just going to hang it up completely, right?
What about you, Josh?
If he's been doing it for so long.
I got out of the business for a while, but now I'm getting back in. I'm excited to do some acting again and, making a comeback.
My fans have always seen me do comedy, and I love comedy. I love being funny, and I do pretty good at it.
Yeah, always
now
just
I'm
comedy.
Getting back in, and so I'm working on some projects now. I can't really talk about it. I'm sorry.
That's weird when these actors always have the I'm working on a project and you never see the project.
I hope the fans will get to see
like they're being strung along.
Yeah, and I can't talk about it. It's almost like they know nothing's going to come of it.
This is a serious film, and I am literally playing two crazy roles.
All right, maybe the parts he did got paid for and done, but nobody ever edited it or released
just
it.
recently kind of just getting back into it, but I have a new project that actually I can't really talk about yet that's getting picked up, which is like a behind-the-scenes thing, a pilot, where I'm going to be writing, potentially acting, directing, so
oh my
some
God.
cool stuff going on.
You see, this is why I'm always a believer in don't talk about it, be about it. Let people see it after you do it. I hate this. Oh, I got this project on the way that I can't really talk about. Nothing's for certain yet. Then don't talk about it, period. Just don't. You know what I mean?
Because he's already cool on the panel as like the guy. It's like, that's my dude. Oh, I have this thing. You may not say, that doesn't sound very cool.
Yeah, you're almost like setting yourself up for failure. It's like, don't do that.
Yeah, because you look important because everyone's like, oh my God, that's the guy I used to watch. He's the coolest. Oh, he's struggling pretty hard. And it kills the kayfabe of them being this guy. Like, I bet you started today's episode thinking, wow, massive kid star. And after seeing this, you're kind of like, oh, he's just sort of like me, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he had a lot of success, I would say as a child actor, a lot of success. Again, that's something that I always wanted to be, even to this day. But, I mean, you have to think a lot more probably don't transition and have the kind of success comparatively to the, you know what I mean? Like, it's very few and far between for those who can, take this and then skyrocket and then have the same or bigger success as an adult. Like, that's just super, super rare. But I think you answered a lot of the questions that I had today, which was... Actually, you didn't answer anything today because I still do not understand why he didn't get a shot at anything. So please tell me there's some sort of happy ending to this story. Please.
Oh, of course there is. We're all about happy endings here on Pop Culture Paradise. Josh Server, Keenan and Kel, they all kind of realize that we all have this nostalgia for all that.
Yeah.
And like everything lately, they cashed in and all that came back. So you gotta have the OGs run it.
You need it. Yep. It's almost like everywhere has just run out of original ideas. And it's like, well, it's been long enough. Let's just reboot this thing and people will watch it.
They're not wrong though, because it's like, hey, all that's coming back and we're gonna do some of your old favorite sketches just with these new kids. Well, I don't care about the new kids, but all right.
Yeah.
There's only one new kids I care about.
Maybe one day we can talk about the reboot done wrong, which was the new Saved by the Bell.
Oh, God, the new Saved by the Bell
But I'm not going to get you started on that right now.
Oh, God, it sucks. It sucks so bad. Yeah, there are some complete winners for reboots and some total freaking losers.
Loser.
Nice Josh Server impression.
I was going for a Jim Carrey.
It's a high school reunion for kids who didn't get to go to high school.
Nostalgia's huge right now.
Yeah.
Nice.
A couple moments of joy and then you feel old. Is everything okay, guys?
Yeah.
Josh Server!
Oh, there he is.
Legend.
How they treat the legends.
Yeah, no, it was it was a pretty big deal, meaning that it was pretty big for kids in the 90s. You're a little too young for it, but,
oh, God.
But that resurgence of the 90s and all the 90s Nick kids, I think that would be considered like...
Yeah, you're definitely ahead of me.
Look who it is! Seriously? I'm freaking out. I love the big ear of corn.
It's the big corn thing again.
I'm also here.
one of the original cast members of all that.
No, we don't know you.
Keenan.
Josh Server.
Show some respect.
My brothers.
This is crazy. We haven't all been in a room together in like what, 20 years?
Man.
Wow.
I'm so grateful. I think we all are.
They look good
Having
though, right?
something talked about 20 years
Honestly,
later,
yeah.
right?
Like,
you really don't realize.
it's kind of like the
when you're
Full
doing
House
it. When you're a
reboot,
kid,
where it's like,
we were,
all right,
you know, in our
I'd
teens,
rather see more
you didn't
Stephanie and
realize how
DJ and
special
everything
it was,
because
and now you
they're
see that,
older,
and now it's
but they're
coming
not
back.
like
It's a pretty awesome.
the age where I wouldn't expect them to be in their own sitcom anyway.
I'll be
Right.
proud of you either way. Thanks for always believing in us, Coach Clampett. Hey, my pleasure,
Either
bud.
way.
Like, he's Nickelodeon old, not like sitcom old.
Very powerful.
I love how he gets in his
No, but
face.
we're
My
grateful,
pleasure,
honestly, guys.
bud.
You know, thank you for being such hardcore fans of the show. So we love you.
It's so crazy to think. It's like, oh, this is the old cast. But when they come back to do the show, they're still in their 30s.
Yeah, and now you get something that it's like, oh, we're gonna go back and visit Detective Dan. Oh yeah, Detective Dan. That's the Columbo parody, and you know he was playing an old man or an older man. Well, now he's basically the age of the older man, but it's still the same character. And now he has a family.
Yeah, a family.
You didn't realize that Detective Dan procreated?
No.
Did you want to know that?
No.
I'm Detective Dan. Oh boy, what the no.
Yikes.
I mean, he was already showing up in his underwear in some of the scenes we were watching earlier.
Yep.
God, that wedding night. Well, Detective Dan has a daughter, Detective Anne.
I had a feeling it was Detective Anne.
I wondered if he dated and married a Detective Jan.
Or Pam.
I'm Detective Dan.
That voice still crushes it.
Detective Dan. And what's
Oh
seems to be the
no,
problem,
that's
honey?
even higher and squeakier.
Well, isn't that convenient, little Miss Birthday Pants? And where were you when the money was stolen?
Isn't that convenient?
Or another hanky? Or another hanky?
It's like the timing's still there.
Oh, it is. Look, even with this gag right here, he's pulling out the long handkerchief.
There's something hidden under this decorative paper and fancy bow.
Well, there's nothing on it.
He's like a good player coach.
Yeah.
What do you say we get out of here?
Out of where?
Yeah, let's just open all their gifts.
Honey, I can't understand you with that accent. You must have gotten that from your mother.
Come on, Pops. Let's go.
Yeah, what are you saying? Get that from your mother. That was great stuff, man.
That was the story of Josh Server, the forgotten cast member from all that. Honestly, you still look at it. I don't know if we solved this mystery. You're right. Why?
No, I think there's only one man that can solve this case.
And he's Detective Dan.
Absolutely. Yeah, man, definitely a trip down memory lane. I learned a lot of things that I had no idea about. I still can't figure out why he didn't really have that, that secondary career after the Nickelodeon stuff. I'm happy that he got the second go around with the reboot because as we saw in that last clip, the timing is still there. Everything, he's still funny,
You still got it. You still got it. You still got it. Yeah.
But unless we can talk to him and really, ask the questions and try to get the answers from his mouth, I don't think we'll ever really know why he didn't transition into becoming a bigger star as an adult because all the tools were there, if you ask me.
5-tool prospect. He had the physical comedy. He had the delivery. He could do the sitcom. He could host. He could entertain.
And he was a handsome dude. Like, he had charisma. I thought he was good.
That's somebody who should have been on one of those WB sitcoms like Amanda Bynes was. Like,
yeah.
You're telling me there wasn't like a What I Like About You or something else offered to him?
He could have totally been on the OC.
Yeah, he could have. He's not that
One
far
Tree
off.
Hill, yeah, like one of those.
When you watch those 2001, 2002 clips of him with his overly gelled up hair and the shades and everything, like, he could have played like a good kind of scummy kid, or he could have played the nerd. He was kind of all characters, just depending on what wardrobe he wore.
Yeah.
Or he could have been on, like, have you ever seen Keenan and Kel on, what is it, like Steve Harvey or Cedric the Entertainer, that show?
Yeah.
I think Lori Beth's also on that. Like, how was he not invited on?
Yeah, man. I don't know. We're going to have to... Hopefully this episode can reach him, and we can try to get these answers from him himself.
Well, that is our promise here at Pop Culture Paradise. We are going to find out. We're going to send this to Josh, and hopefully Josh gives us answers and just doesn't ignore us. What do they do if they like this episode and want to hear us talk more about maybe people who disappeared, maybe things that, I don't know, you're just still wondering even about to this day?
Please like, comment, and subscribe, all three, if you're feeling up to it. For Joe, I'm Jeff, and we'll catch you next week right here on Pop Culture Paradise. Peace.